happens that diluted fund from the public is sitting so cool in their private bank accounts, and nobody is going to touch them, right? So how do you kind of like juxtapose that with use paying through your noses because of his policies that add no single thing developmentally to you? Anyway, it's Kolu. Let's hear the other part before we move on.
You make teaching interesting and make business flourish. One economic action leads to another. It is in your hand to build our nation. Now is to provide the leadership that is necessary, and I'm committed to that. It's not all about politics. If you are afraid of taking the hard decision when it is time to do it, you probably will not be able to build a national consensus any day, any time. So take action when it is necessary. We will do that. I promise you good governance. We are focused, and I have a very good team, I believe. So, to represent us is in your heart, it's in your mind, it is in your character. To promote Nigeria, all the questions we ask about what privileges that we could garner, but being listed, among the yes, we are discussing all of that. They are interested in the cultural diversity of the economy. They have the population. They have to service the population, and they are doing it. So it's in your hand to elevate Nigerians. We are not competing with any other nation. We are just part of a continent that is promising and is, forward-looking. And all I can promise you is good governance. And this team will not fail you, will not let you down. The governors here are highly committed to work with the federal government and elevate their states. But without investment, there can be no rewards. So many of you in private businesses, you've seen that. And so, if we say we have oil and we are not utilizing it for economic prosperity of our people, to develop, to diversify the economy, to build highways, who will do it and when? So, as I said earlier, I promise you good governance. You should promise me good citizenship. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Let's put our hands together for our
Nigalielie.
nuisance lele.
Told you, the same people he left Nigeria with were the same people inside that room. 90% of those inside that room, they were the ministers, governors, PAs that left Nigeria with him, and their own aides too. They were the ones inside that room talking to, as if he's talking to, or yeah, he's addressing the Nigerians in Beijing. He kept saying, all I can give you is good governance. What is good governance? When in the same breath, you are telling them that it is in their mind, it is in their heart to make Nigeria work. My own is to give you good governance. Like, what does that even mean? Eh? Oh, I take bold decisions. That's what I said. I take bold decisions. You know, if you want to, you know, build a country, you have to make bold decisions, take bold decisions. He kept saying that. What kind of bold decisions? And what does that even mean? Mine is to provide good governance. But to make Nigeria, you know, mine is to promise you good governance. Then you have to promise me good citizenship. What does that even mean? What? Gibberish, right? Okay, let's assume that somebody said he's using a reverse psychology. That is to say, oh, for Nigeria to work is in your hand, it's in our hand. Alaye, you are the one who rigged yourself in that you want to be the president of Nigeria, because you can put together, you can put together the team to make Nigeria work. 15 months. They've pushed more Nigerians into poverty, no doubt. And I just saw the report that said in the last 15 months, the terrorists in Nigeria have killed more than 15,000 Nigerians. The terrorist. That's his legacy. The Nigeria national grid, electricity has collapsed. 48 times in the last 15 months. It got to a stage they told them to stop reporting it. So what did he mean by mine is to give you good governance and yours is to promise me good citizenship? What does that mean? I'll read my comment, but here is Wale Idun, another empty head, right? Which is in charge of your economy, I believe, one of the discovered brains of Tifnubu. Listen to this one. Oh. This one, I am also going to advise you, please, for your own sake. Do not listen to him with rapt attention and say, okay, I want to hear him. Maybe it's going to make any sense. I warn you.
Well, I think it is a very important visit. Number one, it's actually two visits rolled into one, or two engagements rolled into one. Number one, Mr. President was honored with a state visit to China, hosted by President Xi Jinping. And secondly, of course, there's the Forum on China and Africa Cooperation, FOCAC. So there were two consecutive events. Number one, the state visit meant a focus between China and Nigeria on intensifying cooperation across all spheres, the political, the economic, and of course, the social, cultural. So in terms of the political, there was commitment to joining forces and speaking with one voice, with a common front across multilateral organizations such as in the UN and so forth. And then secondly, in terms of the economic and financial, there was discussion and there were a number of agreements reached on infrastructure development, in particular road, rail, seaports. And here it's important to point out, because we're always focusing on lending and borrowing activity. In this case, there was important emphasis on foreign direct investment from China to Nigeria. For example, the Lekki port is actually a foreign direct investment by a Chinese company. They were also participated in the construction of the port, but also the financing on an equity basis. And that's what we need to see more of. Equity financing by domestic investors, by foreign investors. That's the whole point of Mr. President's agenda of stabilizing the Nigerian economy so that investors can come in, help it grow, create jobs, and of course, reduce poverty, which is the overall goal of macroeconomic policy and development as a whole. And that's something that President Xi Jinping and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu were clear on, that their ultimate goal is to develop the economies and reduce poverty. So that was specifically the part of these engagements. That was a state visit. And of course, were very warmly received by the president of the People's Republic of China and indeed his whole entourage. Secondly, there was the Forum on Cooperation between China and Africa, FOCAC, and that of course meant about 50 heads of state were here. And what happened there was that the Chinese president, he re-emphasized, one, the need for and his initiatives for global security, for global development, and indeed for global civilization. And in a nutshell, he was focusing on renewing and strengthening and even re-energizing with additional funding, $50 billion over 3 years, as well as some other specific initiatives aimed at mutual development, mutual cooperation, and in fact, development of the African continent as an important part of what we call the Global South. Interestingly, modern as it is, and with all the engineering prowess that it possesses, and with all the advancement that is achieved, China still talks of itself as a developing country, as part of the South. And really, when you look at GDP per capita, China is developing or smaller in terms of GDP per capita than some of its Asian neighbors, the Koreas, Singapores, and so on of this world. But in every other sense, it is a modern economy. And there was strong focus on modernization with a human touch. And he spoke of factors and elements that would touch the heart of any partner. He talked about, in terms of the push for global, for modernization of the developing world, he said that the path to development should be one that leaves nobody behind, that leaves no nation behind. So it was very much a rousing speech at the opening ceremony by President Xi Jinping that warmed the hearts of many people and held good prospects for China-Africa cooperation across cultural exchanges, training, human development, health, and of course the all-important modernization of African economies through infrastructure development across all the frontiers, ports, railways, roads, bridges, and indeed the agricultural sector. So it was all-encompassing. The Nigerian delegation, led by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, included the governors of Kaduna, Kwara, Lagos, Niger, and senators, amongst others. And we've had very, very full engagements and very specific discussions with not just organizations here that do the lending, the China Development Bank, China Exim Bank, but in particular, organizations that are in charge of investing.
Nuisance lele.
Again, I'm going to ask you, could you make any sense of what he's saying? Apart from the word salad, development, development of specifically development of Africa and global development of agriculture, development and the cooperation. It's not just about lending, development. When you talk about equity funding, equity, bridges, ports. We had a very specific engagement, like in the UN, equity savings, development, global development. And what the heck? Eh? I'm a Yoruba man, right? I am not a professor. I can tell you, these charlatans are the worst that you can find in Yoruba land. As educated, as exposed and enlightened as Yorubas are, these are the worst of the cretins that you find. And it's the guy in charge of your Nigeria economy. Wale Idun. That's what they do. Meanwhile, what they went there is just to go and listen to she, and then she will give them loan. And this loan is going to be $50 billion. It's not actually loan, $50 billion investment, they call it, which is going to be for 3 years. And that's for all of these African countries who have something to offer China. So from the 50 billion, right? If you have something that China can take, maybe you can get 1 billion, maybe you can get 2, and China can take maybe about 10, 15 billion worth of whatever it is from your country. Do you get that now? That's what they went there to discuss. It was supposed to be a better, okay, hang on. It was supposed to be a better brand than Tifnumbu Abi. Even you watching me right now, who is a Tifnumbu supporter? Could you make any sense out of what he just said? Eh? Oh, the state governors who are here, we had a specific engagement on, seed. What is that specific engagement, man? These are the words you can get from Yoruba land from anywhere. And he didn't pick them because they have any brain or anything to add. Their job is to ensure, right, that wherever they are placed, okay, they empty the place in the name of Kolu and then turn around to gaslight you by telling you that our partners, our this or that. I couldn't make any sense out of that. I was kind of, well, I've seen the video, right? So I was expecting them to say, oh, we came to China and the last few days has been really, really, productive. Okay. So we have been able to secure so. In fact, we have been able to secure an investment worth over $16 billion. And in the area of agriculture, we have, for example, we have a Chengdu farm, Shenzhen animal husbandry. We have a milk industry here in China. They have all pledged, right, to invest almost $14 billion in Nigeria in the next 2 years. So, for example, we've told them about the arable land in northern part of Nigeria, and we have decided to partner with the biggest farm in China, who is ready to also come to Africa. So we have told them that we can guarantee them. In fact, we signed a deal to give them 1 million acre of land where they're going to cultivate to grow so and so. That is specific. That's what you call specific. Or in the area of for example, in the area of power generation, Tifnumbu said he was going to generate 40,000 megawatts of electricity. So this trip to China, we have been able to sign a deal with a Chinese hydroelectric company. The company itself is worth over $20 billion. but they've signed a $2 billion deal with us, where they're going to come and help us build so, and that will generate so, and so megawatt of electricity in a space of 2 years, which will then be channeled into industrial. That's specific. That is specific. That is something you can say, oh, okay, great. Even Bokwari that went to China to go and do currency swap deal, it was specific. Even though that deal was pretty much like, take $10 billion from Nigerian foreign reserve and give it to China. And China opened a yuan account for them to say, you see, this is your $10 billion. Thank you. Bring it. Oh, yeah. And they collected it and say, okay, yeah, we have opened a yuan bank account for you. It is 22 billion yuan. So all the Nigerian businessmen transacting, or that will be transacting business with China, right? So they, with this yuan, what have you, right? So they have secured for themselves its total so and so savings, which means it's going to be easier now. So if they need access to yuan and all of that, with this money you give to us, they can transact business with our country and the other interested parties in our country to build a mutual developmental business or whatever with your country. So, and that is going to be worth this. Even Bokwari, the Dombo Bokwari, was specific. But this guy, oh my God, I want you to listen to the rest, please. It is so annoying. I am a Yoruba man, and it breaks hearts when people say you should stand up and fight for these criminals who don't give a shit, give a damn about you, whether you are from, they don't give a damn about anything Yoruba to start with, not to talk of Nigeria, right? These are the empty heads in Yoruba land now destroying Nigeria. Let's own it.
Equity. And so the conversations continue, and it has been a very worthwhile engagement. And if we look at some of the transactions that have been signed, there's an important gas and methanol project going up at Brass in Bayelsa State, among so many others. And overall, it has been time well spent. And now, of course, the all-important follow-up is what is next on the agenda, and is what we expect to happen next. Strong follow-up on the initiatives, strong follow-up on the agreements and the memorandums of understanding that have been signed, and of course, a boost to growth and development of the Nigerian economy. Around 1990, I think the GDP per capita of Nigeria was actually ahead of China's, but they have since left us behind. And the lesson is that we have a lot of catching up to do, but they have done it in a relatively few number of years, in a couple of decades or so. And so that should be our own objective. That should be the example that we must look to follow, that we must have rapid, sustained, and inclusive growth year after year for a decade, for 2 decades. And then that will take us to the kind of modernity, the kind of advance, the kind of lifting of people out of poverty on a massive scale. They have achieved it here, and that indeed is the objective of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In terms of the domestic economy, all the signs are that, yes, the corner is being turned. GDP in two quarters has grown, has increased, and it is above population growth. So it means that there is progress in that important front. Likewise, inflation has started coming down. The reserves are building up. The trade balance is positive. The current account is positive. So we don't have any balance of payments problem as such. And of course, we are looking to for the exchange rate to continue to stabilize. And eventually, that should be able to lead to a lowering of interest rates, which again would give a boost to domestic investment. And the key, what China has done and what is achieved, the key is investment, domestic investment, attraction of foreign direct investment, that creates jobs, that increases productivity, and grows the economy and reduces poverty. So that is the clear goal and target. And to date, there has been progress, and we just need a bigger, more momentum in the direction that we are already going. And one of the things that has given confidence at this time is we have just completed, in